Okay, so today's lesson is 6-4, finding a percent of a number. It's on page 290, and I'm going to give you 3 different methods that you can find the percent of a number. And then I'll let you do it. You can choose which method you would like to use and which one's easier for you. I prefer the first method. I think it's the quickest and the easiest, but like I said, everybody's different. So you're going to get to try the different methods. Okay? All right. So in the book, they give you an example of there is a choir there's 44 students in that choir, and 25% of that choir are 8th graders. So how many 8th graders are in the choir? So our question is, here it is. Our question is, 25% of the 44 students equals how many? Okay, and the first step you need to do is get rid of that percent sign and make that 25 into a decimal. And you do that by simply moving the decimal point 2 places to the left. So the decimal point is technically after the 5, so move it 2 places to the left, and you should come up with 0.25. Okay, that's step 1. Move your decimal point 2 places to the left. Now, in math, the word of usually means to multiply. So our original phrase up there, 25% of 44, is telling us to multiply times 44. So we're going to take our 0.25, multiply it times 44, and go ahead and put that in your calculator, 0.25 times 44, and you will come up with the answer 11. Okay, that is the first method. A second method to finding out the percent of a number is you can make your percent into a fraction instead of a decimal. So 25%, if we wanted to make that into a fraction, would be 25 over 100. We need to reduce that, so then you have that 1/4. Okay, and then you multiply. 1/4 times 44 equals 44 over 4, and then you need to divide. 44 divided by 4 equals 11. Okay, that's the second method. All right, now look on page 291, and I'm going to turn this back around for a moment while I erase my board. This next method is saying to use mental math. Some of you are saying, yes, I'd rather just figure it out in my head. And for some cases, that would be rather simple to do. But there is a procedure for that, even doing it in mental math, okay? You can't just guess and throw out a random number there, okay? So our example that we're going to use is 11% of 840 equals what? Okay, so let's turn this around. There's our equation there. So in mental math, at the top of your page 291, notice that it says 100% of a number is that number. So 100% of 840 would be 840, of course. 50% of your number is half of that number. 10% of a number is 0.1 of the number. So 0.1 times of that number. And 1% of a number is 0.01 of or times that number. Now, I'm sure some of you have heard the expression, we're to give 1/10 of our income as a tithe to the church. Okay, and one of the easiest ways to think of 1/10, it's 10%, Okay, you just, if the decimal point is here, you 1/10. I'm going to write that over here. 1/10 or 10%. Same thing. 10% or 1/10 is simply moving your decimal point one place to the left. Okay, so if I had, here's 11%, right? That's the same as 10 plus 1, right? Or 10% plus 1%, right? So if 10% of 840 equals 84, because I just moved the decimal point one place over and I have 84, all right? What would 1% be? Well, you're just going to move the decimal point 2 places to the left. Okay, so that is $8.40. I'm not talking about dollars. All right, so I put these in columns with the decimal points lined up so that we can easily add them together, because we have 10% plus 1%. So I've got to add these two amounts together. Okay, so we have 92.40. All right, that would be your 11% of 840. Okay, we just took this apart, so to speak, and did 10% plus 1%. All right, that is how you can do mental math. So in the book, in your book, you have the quick check is use mental math to find 40% of 2,400. So what you can do is you can 40% is like 4 groups of 10%, right? And remember how I said with the 10%, you just move the decimal point over one space? So you would have, instead of 2,400, if you move the decimal point one place to the left, you're going to have 240, right? And that's 10%. But if you have 4 groups of 10%, you're going to take that 240 times that 4 groups, and what do you come up with? Use your calculator. 240 times 4, you should come up with 960. And I'll go ahead and show you that. See, now we have 2,400. I moved the decimal point over one place to the left. I have 240, that's 10%. But I have 4 groups, so I'm going to multiply this times 4, and you should come up with 960. Okay, that is mental math. All right, I'm going to erase my board. Sometimes you're gonna the book is gonna ask you to estimate your answer. So let's look at that. 32% of 900. They're saying, okay, 32% is close to 1/3. If you said 32 over 100 and then you reduce that, you would come up with 1/3. Okay, so it's approximately 1/3. So 1/3 times that 900, because it says 912, but if we wanted to round that, 912 is closer to 900. So we're going to say 1/3 times 900, and that is equal to 300. Okay, that's estimating. Let's try one together. Quick check. Letter A. If you have 24% of 238, well, 24% is close to what? What percent could we use that it would be close to? Well, I was thinking 25, because 25% is we can write that as 1/4. Or, so you could do it as a fraction, or you could do it as decimal. Let's do the decimal, move it over 2 places to the left. So 0.25 times, well, 238. Let's just go ahead and keep the actual amount there. You could do 200, but let's just go ahead and keep 238. 0.25 times 238 equals 59.5. Let's see, 59.5. And we're going to round to the nearest whole number. This is the nearest whole number in ones place. So you're going to look one place to the left. Is it large enough to change that whole number? Yes, it is. So your answer is approximately, we're going to do the wavy lines representing approximately 60. Okay? So you can do 19%, letter B. We have 19% of 473 is approximately how much? Well, let's try 20% with the decimal point over 2 places to the left times 473 is approximately, you could go up and do 500, 20% of 500 if you wanted to do that. That would also give you an approximate answer, since 473 is closer to 500 than it is 400. So you're going to do 0.20 times 473, or you can round it up. I'm going to keep it at 473, and I came up with 94.6. I'm going to round it to my nearest whole number. So my 6 changes the 4 to a 5, and I get approximately 95. Okay? If you went up to 500, you probably came up with, and you should have, come up with approximately 100. Okay? So that's how you estimate. All right, look at page 292, and it says to use mental math, paper and pencil, or a calculator. You may use a calculator to find each answer. So I want you to go ahead and do whichever method is the easiest for you. If the mental math was easiest for you, go for it. But if the first process was the easiest for you, I want you to do that. And for these problems, I want the answer, but I want you to do it. Use the method that was the easiest for you to understand and to come up with the correct answer. Number 1, 58% of 50. You could either do, if you did the mental math, then you would do 5 groups of 10% plus the 8%. So that's a little bit more extensive, I think. Or you can make it into a fraction, 58 over 100, reduce it and then multiply. Or you can move the decimal point over 2 places to the left, so you have a decimal, and multiply that decimal, 0.58 times 50, and come up with your answer. Okay? For numbers 5 through 7, it says to write an expression and estimate each answer. So I want you to go ahead and do like what we did. I want you to go ahead and make an estimate. So for number 5, 19% of 63. So you're going to change that 19% to 20% times 63. Or you could just change that 63, it's closer to 60, so you could just do that. And what I want to see is not just the answer, but I want to see how you worked it out. All right. So for example, number 5, if you had 19%, let's see, times times 63, and we're going to put that into, I'm going to do my way, 0.20 times 60. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in the calculator. I already think I know what it is, but I'm just going to, okay. All right. I'm not going to show you the answer. So you can do it this way, or you could do 20 over 100 and reduce that to 1/5 times 60 equals. Or you can do the mental math, which would be 0.10 times 60 equals something. And then another group of that, 0.10 times 60, and then add those two numbers up together. Okay? What I want to see on your paper for number 5, or onto the assignment page if you want to do it right there, that's fine too. But I want to see this written out with the answer, or this way written out with the answer, or this way written out with the answer. Okay, I do not want just the answer. And that's for numbers 5, 6, and 7. For those 3, I want to see your work and I want the answer. Okay? All right. The assignment is to do page 292, 1 through 9, and that you need to turn in on a page and attach it, or write your answers on the assignment page. Okay? And that's that. Have a good day.